Hey, and welcome back. In this video, we will explore Apple as a case study for innovation and how that drives an organization's long-term success. But let's start with going back a few steps, actually a few decades. Apple was maybe one of the most important companies when it came to the PC revolution, together with Microsoft. Apple was providing the hardware, Microsoft was very much focused on the software piece. After a few successes and failures, Steve Jobs was fired as Apple's CEO in 1985. In 1996, 90 days close to being bankrupt, Apple brought Steve Jobs back. He took over initially as interim CEO after Apple had bought his company Next. What happened then from 1996 till Steve Jobs passed away is just incredible. In the early 2000s, the Mac computer was 86% of Apple's revenue. Over the past 20 years, this went down to only 10% of Apple's overall revenue. And this is not because Apple sells less Mac computers. Actually, the number of Mac computers that they sell skyrocketed in this period. So moving from 86 to around 10% of the revenue is due to all the new products and services that Apple has created in the past 2 decades. It all started out with an extension to the Mac, being the iPod and the iTunes music store. Apple managed to create a business model around legally downloading music and making that music accessible to them anywhere they went. This not only resulted in a lot of iPod sales, it also resulted in more Mac sales as the Mac became the hub for the iPod. But Apple was bold enough to sacrifice that holy cow, that iPod, because they saw there was more potential in this space. So instead of being disrupted by one of their competitors or a startup, they disrupted their most successful product themselves. The iPhone that was introduced in 2007 was basically an iPod, a phone, and an internet navigation device. So anybody who owned an iPhone now did not need an iPod in the future. And if you look at the iPod sales over the years, they went up fairly quickly, but they also dropped down because Apple was bold enough to disrupt their own cash cow. Many organizations fail to do that. And guess what? It's not that their cash cow remains a cash cow. It's that some other organization, some startup comes around and disrupts them, and then they become irrelevant. We saw this happen to Kodak, who happened to invent the digital camera. We saw that happen to Blockbuster, who was able to acquire Netflix. We also saw that happen to Nokia, who in 2007 was disrupted by Apple and the iPhone. So a few things to take away from this brief case study about Apple. Number one, innovate, and innovate beyond your traditional products. So moving from Mac to iPod is not the regular innovation that organizations make. It addresses a completely different customer segment, and especially it addresses a completely different customer need. Second, don't be afraid of killing your own cash cow, because if you don't do it, some other organization will. And then you become as irrelevant as Nokia, Blockbuster, and Kodak. I hope this brief case study about Apple showed you the power of innovation, moving beyond customer needs and segments, and also the willingness to killing your own cash cows.